great pleasure to have my special guest, Kurt Brugel, who is the second half of the Turbo Pit Fighter teaser comic book. They're still deciding what it is. It actually is, and also the I have. Why do I have? Oh, I have because this is the. Is this like a pre copy or something? Because it has no title and stuff.
What for the
The
Crom?
Chrome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a Virgin cover. That's a Ken
Oh,
Landgraf Virgin
oh
cover.
yeah, the
How did you
Virgin
get a
Virgin
How did you
Virgin
get a
Cup.
hold of that?
You
Who do you
sent it to
know?
me.
Who do you know?
I know people. I know people up in high places, high places. So and probably I don't know. I don't want you to choose between your children, but you're
You're
Turbo
gonna
Pit
make
Fighter,
me.
but you're also Crom. It feels like Crom is maybe a little bit more dear to your heart. Um, but he is the curator of the Crom website and has the Crom anthology and all that stuff. And we'll be talking about this stuff. But I really kind of want to zip through a lot of stuff because we have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. But before we do any of that, um, usually when my guests come, I make them do a obsessed with either Marvel or Star Wars. Um, but because you are probably the most anti-pop culture kind of guy
Yeah.
that I know, I actually created three different questions. So you have a choice of either obsessed with Marvel, which has this little box, which is like a tells you the page to go and gives you A, B, C, or D, and it goes when you get it wrong, and you ding, ding, ding if you get it right. Same thing with Star Wars. But the Star Wars box doesn't really work. But I'm trying to figure that stuff out. So you could either go Marvel, Star Wars, or my carefully crafted Kurt Brugel questions.
Oh yeah, number three.
Number three. I'm not going to actually show them because I probably have some misspellings and I don't want to look like an idiot. Um,
It's
so these are carefully crafted for you. They might be like if other people are watching that have been on the show and they've had to do the Marvel or the Star Wars trivia, they're gonna might be a little bit pissed because these might be softball questions for you because they're kind of tailored towards you, but they're also things that I in my like yep Stephen Rex leader is he was very paranoid about the trivia with the Marvel. So he's going to be pissed about that. But here we go. Um, here's your first one. Who starred in the movie She?
she. Oh, that's from Conan. Oh God.
Yeah. What's her
It
name
was the
though?
it was Valeria from Conan.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I had the biggest crush on her when I was little, when I was
yeah, I know.
younger.
Remember you saying
I
that.
loved her.
What was her name? I'm
But
going.
what was her name?
Drawing her blank. Hold on.
No cheating.
I'm
I
just
can just
thinking.
I can just tell you.
I'm just thinking. Let me just think for a second.
All
Here.
right, all right. I didn't know it
Oh,
either, which is really very
oh,
odd
oh,
because I mean
oh. Sandal Bergman.
very good, very good. I wouldn't
Woo,
have gotten that, even
woo,
though I love who she is. Like
woo.
actors and actresses, they have to be in like five or six, really great films that I love in order for me to remember their names.
Right.
Um, all right, this might be a little bit harder. And I'm thinking you've seen this. Who directed Galaxina?
Oh gosh. It's
You
not
know, you know
Jim.
Galaxina, right?
Yeah, that's not Jim Warnowski, is it?
No, no. Uh,
Okay,
it's
hold on. Martin Scorsese.
I wish. It's
Yeah, I get one more.
Williams. All right, yeah, you get one more because
All
the
right.
other questions
Is
have
it
an
a
A, B, C,
famous?
or D.
But is it a famous director?
I don't know. I've never heard of them.
Okay, well then it's not. Then they're not famous. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's
um,
William Sachs. I
why
don't
did you
know
pick
who that.
that? Have you seen
I don't
that
know
movie?
because I was thinking of Galaxina. I love Galaxina. I haven't seen it in forever, but I mean, don't you love Galaxina?
Not as much as Barbarella.
They're so close, so close.
So
All right, all
close.
right. This is right up your alley. What are the first names of the Barbarian brothers?
Bob and Jim.
No, no. You have another answer?
Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Let me give me a second.
Are you a Barbarian Brothers fan?
Not like
I'm not.
intensely.
I
Like
I'm not.
that movie's actually the lowest on my ranking. To
Yeah.
be honest with you, all the B movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, me too.
because I don't,
But they're pretty
I'm
famous.
not a, I'm not in the movies. Comedy and humor is really hard for me in Sword and Sorcery. It's
Yeah,
just, I
yeah,
mean, it can't. I mean, like for instance, the second Dark Deathstalker. Now
yeah,
that was just completely designed around it, but you know, and it is completely acceptable. But yeah, I don't know. It was not. It's not my good. Let me think. I know it's like Peter and Paul. Peter
very,
and
very good, close.
Peter. I yeah, Peter. David.
There you go, Peter and David. Now that I think about it, it's the that comic book writer, Peter David.
Peter
So,
Davidson.
so there you go, there you go. Um, so you got some ninja stuff. Are you more ninja or samurai or other martial arts?
Uh like when you come to like movies or like
Uh, Books, movies, what you love, anything like that. Like,
it's really hard. I don't really separate. I mean, like martial arts overall as
yeah,
entertainment, like nothing can kind of like go wrong for me. I actually found for me, ninjas were they made an appearance in an episode on Black Belt Theater when I was
yeah,
like 11 or 12 years old, and
yeah,
a samurai was the chief villain, and it made me bonkers. And I went to the library right afterwards, and I went to the librarian and I was like, "Do you have any books on?" I had it written down. It was like, and I had it written down. I had it written down phonetically, so the poor librarian had to figure out. She's, oh, like Japanese samurais. I was like, yeah,
oh,
okay. And then
Japanese.
she handed me like she took me to that section, and it was all the history books and everything.
Yeah,
But then ninjas obviously are such a it's like a Batman and Robin thing, right? So samurais being Batman, ninjas being Robin. I don't know if that's a
yeah,
good
yeah,
that kind of thing. But
yeah.
you know if somebody said to me, hey, look, we want to pay you to make a martial arts comic book, would you do is can you do either? I would pick ninja.
You would pick ninjas.
Yeah.
I had a good friend that I always used to say samurai and ninja, and he would yell out, Ninjas are samurai." So I have to. I'd be like, yeah, yeah, kind of, but not really, but kind
No.
of, yeah, yeah. So, but the biggest thing that I want to talk about is like you've taken martial arts. You currently take martial arts.
No, no, I bowed out, if you will,
Yeah,
just for like life in general.
yeah, yeah,
I was in a tough space to keep my training consistent, and also
yeah,
too, it's very physically demanding.
yeah,
And
yeah,
as I was crossing into my 40s, my knees were really not
yeah,
not
yeah,
holding
yeah.
up. But I did 13 years of what's called Kokikai Aikido.
Yep,
Um,
yep. Oh,
and
that's
I
cool.
was actually 2 months away from my third degree black belt.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
So it was really it was fantastic. As a matter of fact, I trained with a guy that I still see almost every week or so. We do walks and talk quote unquote like Eastern spirituality and stuff like that. And then
Right, right.
my teacher Sensei Rick Barry, I have breakfast with him at least once a month because he's just one of the most incredible people I was able to find and connect with. So.
Yeah, yeah. I when I started seeing my wife, her daughter was big into taekwondo, and
Yeah.
I think she was a brown belt at the time. So we had like 2 or 3 years of going to tournaments and going to classes, and going to tournaments are not nearly as exciting as the Karate Kid. Um, I, I, I was kind. Have you been to some tournaments?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I did
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
The first thing I did in high school, throughout high school, was Shotokan karate, and that was at the YMCA. And the head pupil, whenever he was stuck teaching us, would just use us as punching bags.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
was pretty tough. But yeah,
yeah,
we did go and check out contests. Yeah, the tournament stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
boring,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
fun.
I imagine when you're
But it's a
part of it, like when you're doing it, it's a lot more exciting. But
oh
when
yeah.
you're the family in the gymnasium or what school gymnasium or whatever watching, it can get kind of boring. The men are certainly a little bit more exciting. I'm not going to say more skillful because that would be kind of sexist. And I'm sure there's plenty of super skillful women in the martial arts field, but it's just a little drab, I think, especially when it's built up in your mind from all the movies and stuff. But here's the crux of one of the things that I really, really wanted to talk about. I On YouTube, there's this video of an MMA martial artist who fights the a kung fu master in China. Have you seen the video?
There's probably like 100 of them.
There, there, there's
I've
there's
seen
a
a
bunch
lot
of
of
them.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and the martial arts, the mixed martial arts guy just like wipes the floor with him,
Yeah.
and so
That's
a whole thing is going on, or has been going on, or whatever. That kung fu is actually like not a real fighting style; it's a
mm,
fake thing, and like I
mm,
think it's like this big thing. Like the guy that defeated the kung fu master in China is like ostracized pretty much, and was getting death threats and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm
gee.
wondering what your take on MMA versus just any other regular martial arts style, and specifically kung fu. Like, is kung
Well,
fu real?
that I did my last couple of years, almost like 3 years. Mixed martial arts became super huge.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and we actually had a policy in the dojo that you sort of had to be vetted, because it was a kind of like, it could get ugly, in that somebody was not only trying to like come and train with us, but they were trying to test their own skill against the
yeah,
whole school. So we did have a couple of people that we did understandably turn away, but a couple people ended up coming in, and were really super gracious in sharing sort of their methodology. My
yeah,
last year of training actually wasn't with my school because I was out of town. And so I got permission from my teacher, and then engaged another school up near where I was working at the time. And he let the MMA guys come in, and I had enough training with some of the ones, like I said before. But to cut to the chase, one of the magical things in MMA, I think that's like a level of like superiority, is what's called ground fighting,
yeah, yeah,
or even grappling, because in Aikido we got into it, but it was all about sort of evasive maneuvers. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah,
then,
yeah,
if you were taken down, you were pretty useless. So,
yeah, yeah,
getting that extra layer of grappling training, like I did in like my last 3 years, was super advantageous when I did start meeting MMA, martial artists, because what they wanted to do is they just wanted to get themselves around you and then take you down, and then
yeah, yeah,
basically quote unquote choke you out, and
yeah,
that's their that's their goal. Where Aikido, it was just basically to ultimately not seek confrontation, and
right,
then descale the confrontation by evasive movement, which was actually very connected to the samurai themselves, because the samurai themselves, man, those swords are like razor sharp. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's no, and I actually was able to do sword training with two highly skilled masters, almost like for 7 years. Went out to Seattle and studied with this one guy who was flying back and forth from Japan. But anyhow, um, you just didn't want to mess with somebody who had a sword, no matter how skillful they seem to appear, or didn't, because
Yeah, yeah.
once anybody got a hold of you with a sword, I mean, you were done. And then
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
die of basically sword wound back then. It's not
Yeah.
like you get to the ER.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but like Joe Rogan has specifically like kind of gone after Kung Fu as not a real martial art, and that it's completely
I think,
fake. And
Alex, the tough thing about saying not a real martial art, I think his framework is the practicality of what would be called street fighting. So
right, right,
MMA is like, you know that's where it's all coming down to, like that. It's hardcore, like it's looking for the most severest sense of realism.
right,
Kung Fu is a spiritual path.
right,
Aikido too, I would also put in like a spiritual path. But at the same time, Joe Rogan started out in Shotokan karate. I think it's
right,
Shotokan,
right.
but and
Most of the MMA guys.
he was like big time, like national,
Yeah,
I think, championing ranking at, like, by the time he was 19 or something like that. And he supposedly still has like the kick that no
yeah,
MMA fighter wants to be in the line of, because he just
right.
has that kick that'll just, I mean, he'll demolish you.
Right, right. My thought on MMA versus Aikido or regular karate or kung fu, and I do think kung fu is a real martial art, a real good fighting technique. I think it boils down to these martial arts originally were for wartime. So you have, hundreds or thousands of people fighting each other. If they lose their sword, then they start fighting hand to hand or whatever. And so I'm going to take, if I have 100 kung fu martial artists versus 100 MMA guys, I'm going to take the kung fu guys. Because once you're on the ground, that's great and everything.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
kung fu guys are just going to stomp you.
yeah. Well, the whole thing was like karate and kung fu kind of originated out of the same thing. It was a farmer's type of way of either a defending themselves, a village, against, let's say an army moving through, or mercenaries or bandits. And for the kung fu, that's where it became more like, let's say, Buddhist adjacent. So then monks, had schools, and then, parents would leave their infants outside, because they knew they would have a better chance of surviving if they were out there. Samurai, it has always been like even high, basically the equivalency of like knights in shining armor in
Right, right,
chivalry times and stuff. So you were being trained to be a professional killer. So if you wanted to do a good job, you were learning how to kill. Hence, going back to the MMA, where it's like, if you're going into the octagon, or whatever it is for the tournaments nowadays, and looking at a purse of like $17 million, you've got to come strong. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
You've got to have the skill set. So almost anything. I was just watching something on Bruce Lee a couple nights ago, and just getting like a reminder of him being the originator of mixed martial arts, because he just learned that having a style was basically being incompetent as a fighter. And
right,
so
yeah, yeah,
he sought out people. And when you look at the people he was up against in the movie role, which was the video, what the video was really sort of about, these guys were all adjacent to things in martial arts systems that he really didn't have a lot of scope in. So he wanted to have there an equilibrium between two quote unquote showdown martial artists. So he was way ahead of the time for that. And of course, his movies are all about dirty ass street fighters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you a bigger Bruce Lee fan or Jackie Chan?
Oh,
Or
Bruce, Bruce,
oh, Bruce Lee. See, I'm a
Bruce.
bigger Jackie Chan fan. Just some of the acrobatics that he's done in his movies are just, the craziest stuff. Um,
Yeah, but see, also that's what they call wushu, which is kind of circus slash kung
yeah, yeah,
fu, which is has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Where once again, children were trained from like infancy on in order to have these acrobatic quote unquote fighting skills. Um, but it got pulled into Chinese theater and then Chinese movies, and then when
right.
Bruce Lee shows up, he's really bringing Hollywood to China. That was one of the other
Yeah,
things that he was gapping, and that's where it started magnifying um, the sort of illustration in the movie of like quote unquote fighting each other. Like I still am very very mesmerized by um, black belt theater, like pre Bruce Lee, like the '70s stuff. Like the
yeah, yeah,
Wu Tang Clan's always like
yeah,
propping up, the Drunken Fist and Seven Chambers, all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Everything
I love
because
that stuff.
it had so much more like quote unquote elegance and like beauty, like the movement, like work, like crane style and tiger style and
Yeah,
drunken style. It was just so mesmerizing, still mesmerizing. I love also the repeatable story frame structure. Like
yeah,
how
yeah.
many times has the bud burgeoning student lose his
It's
master or has to defend the
it's
school? But
it's
you
the
it
same story every time.
but
Yeah,
yeah, but it absorbs into the graphic nature of how then they tell the story through these physical actions.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I mean, it's just like it's kind of like the A Team where they or Rocky where they get beaten and then they do a bunch of training montage and then they come back and win. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Somebody,
yeah,
somebody
exactly.
should use AI to come up with like a Chinese martial arts version.
So yeah, but the thing is, I don't know if it's unfortunate or fortunate that kung fu movies are so exaggerated and like I could totally understand why people wouldn't think it's real. I mean, you look at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and they're jumping 15 feet onto a building, and then just running around and doing these double backflips, 30 feet in the air. So, and that is so much of kung fu is that exact same thing where it's just so exaggerated that they're almost like superhero movies. I can understand why people would just automatically say, "Yeah, no, kung fu is not real."
I guess I have a very and this from the Turbo channel with Jake. I spend the majority of my time and physical existence trying to escape this reality.
Right? Yeah, yeah,
So I have no evasions to quote unquote is it real or not? Like I'm not
right,
I actually judge things based on the design of how fantastic it is. Like
right.
like
Yeah,
wow, that's an old trope, but they really made it fantastic. Like going back to the kung fu thing, every movie it's basically the same trope. Student loses the master, dies, or the school is in need of defense. And so, but then I think the grading of those stories, those movies, really get down into how fantastic then like the fight scenes are, the just the way the camera works and moves and everything to those extents. So, and it's probably even adjacent. Well, it is very adjacent to my like art nerdiness, the aesthetics of it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's kind of thing. Like I, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen Cirque du Soleil. Have you ever seen a
yeah,
Cirque du
yeah.
Soleil? When
Oh
they
yeah,
started coming to America, I couldn't see them enough. I can't. I actually. I watch them on YouTube, and I hope my wife doesn't hear me because I want to run away and work for them for like the rest of my
yeah,
life because they are dealing with these physical things um, that seem unbelievable that they're doing. Like you were saying just a moment ago, scaling buildings. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like a
yeah.
superhero type of thing, but it's just so fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a dance and a circus and a martial art
Emotion. Yeah,
all mixed in
beautiful,
together.
beautiful, and the design, like how each one is thematic, and each like piece is a part of the story, and I just love it. I just love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things that I was thinking, like I was super steeped into all this samurai stuff when I was younger. As you can see, I've got the Book of Five Rings and all of
Oh
these
yeah.
Bushido and all of these samurai books. And I read pretty much every samurai thing I could find. It was like my main thing. But then it kind of got to a point where I kind of got delusioned. Um, with the samurai because I kind of came to the realization that they weren't like you were comparing them to not knights and stuff. Um, I kind of don't feel like that was really how it was,
What do you
or
mean?
I don't like, how in the samurai it's just like a trope in just like in the kung fu, where the samurai will go into a tavern or an inn, and then there'll be some bad samurai talking, badly or acting badly with the innkeeper, and he'll be causing trouble, and then the good samurai fights, stands up for the innkeeper and his daughter and stuff, and kills. I kind of feel like all of the samurai were like the ones bothering the innkeeper, and that if there were true, um, truly good samurai, they were so few and far between that I kind of just get disillusioned by it.
Are you
You know what
saying
I'm
that
saying?
based on? Are you saying that based on the movies or like
Uh,
history itself?
The history itself, basically. I mean, when the samurai disband or whatever, they become illegal. The very first thing they do, they don't become police officer. I mean, there must have been some that became police
There
officers
were.
or whatever.
Yeah, there were.
Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but they either become bandits or they become roaming Ronin, and they seek each other out
Ronan.
to kill each other. And that just doesn't feel like that is the real true samurai way. Maybe people were do you know what I'm saying?
I think there's a lot of truth to what you said. The thing about it was that there were times where the unification in the Tokugawa period of like turn of the 1600s, up to that point you were talking about like I think it was up and around 50 warlord in power that had
Yeah, yeah,
decent sized armies that could go out and claim other territories. And so Tokugawa's thing was like slowly he just started cutting deals with families saying, hey, look, let's unify, but let's not fight, and let's make sure this and that. And then he was also the one that was holding family members of those people. So those other clans, and so the clans had to be good, or then Tokugawa would kill
yeah,
family
yeah,
members of theirs. And so then when it did come to a point where it was like, I can't have a whole bunch of other people who don't want to join me roaming around with loose bands of samurai, I'm just going to make it illegal. But the biggest thing was is he couldn't take the swords away. Like that was a big, huge thing that he could not navigate. And so therefore, that's where the Ronin comes in. And, there's a lot of stories about Ronin going into towns and doing other things other than being martial arts, soldier, mercenary types. But they had such a high class of discipline that then when they were living with the people, they were creating equilibriums there. And then, of course, they could defend a small village. Some guys came through and stuff. Whereas, that's where you then get the movie, like, the greatest samurai movie of all time is hands down Seven Samurai by
Yeah,
Akira
yeah,
Kurosawa.
yeah.
And he was writing these movies based on reality in his country. That they were not fiction, like
Right,
in
yeah,
the way
yeah.
of like, oh, it'd be really cool. Now, were there one where seven of them showed down with a whole blah, blah, blah? We don't. I maybe there is. I don't know, but I think what he was doing was he was melting together all of these little stories about Samurai Ronin, saying, you know what, in honor, in honor of how I've been trained and where it was living until some point, I'm going to die with honor, and that's
Yeah,
what also
yeah.
leads into dying on a battlefield. Hence, like Conan the Barbarian, in his own belief system, or that sword and sorcery, lead character, in the strong sense of it, it's like you want to have honor. There needs to be some kind of honor there, and you want to live all the way out to the point where the best death is won in glory in battle.
Right, right, right. I actually read his biography? Yeah, autobiography is where you write it yourself. And he there's actually a part in it, Akira Kurosawa that is, where
Yep.
he is attacked by these six young children. Like he's like 10, 9 or 10 or something like that. And he's attacked by these six children and he picks up a stick and he starts, beating them like he's a samurai. So it's a lot of self aggrandizing. I don't know how to say that word. Where he's
Grandfather.
I'm not entirely sure that I believe all of the stuff that he's saying. Maybe there's some truth to it, maybe there's not, I don't know. He almost portrays himself like a samurai himself. So I
Well,
really don't know.
he's of he his heritage is directly from a samurai lineage.
Right, 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 right. So
So he's
um
not, and that was one of the things. That was one of the things he actually faced in his depression. Was he was in the entertainment and arts, and in his family that was very degrading. Like you should have gone
yeah,
out to be a
yeah,
doctor or an attorney or a
yeah,
statesman or something. At that point, he was like, "Man, I'll make basically pictures about nonsense," and so that
yeah.
was always a huge struggle for him through his family.
Yeah, 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 definitely. So I guess the part, the crux of me being disillusioned with samurai is I'm not entirely sure that there's a goodness to go along with the honor that they espouse, you know?
I I don't see, for me that's kind of hard in generality speaking, Alex. Like
Yeah,
I think it comes down to like, let's say let's say story by story, because you can take now, and let me preface too. I love a good anti-hero, but I even
yeah,
love
yeah,
a better villain. I love, and then the villain has some sort of turn in his consciousness by acts or things going on and stuff. But it, it, I think one of the things I would lean into with that statement of yours is like, how could one really top all the samurai stories ever told?
right, yeah,
Now,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, would you like just try to make a goody goody two shoe samurai movie just to try to
right,
try something? Because I try to make make lighter sense of it, or skew the perspective on it from there, or just immerse yourself in the challenge of it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
what would it be like trying to deal with a goody two shoe? Like, no, guys, I don't want to kill you, so because I'm so much better than you guys in the
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait a
It's
second. Let
like
me let
a
me write that. Let me write that
Musashi.
down. Let me write that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
down.
It's like Musashi. Have you read the Musashi books?
Oh gosh, I've actually gone through three Japanese melodramas. Um, like the television, they've done like I think they're up to like 18 melodramas of his life, and
Right, right.
I've done at least three of them, and then of course Tashune Mifune.
Yeah,
Um, uh, he did the trilogy there and stuff. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the
Those are
Book of
based on the
Five
books.
Rings is yeah. Well, the Book of the Five Rings is a riddle, but he was a nut. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
he wasn't square socially at all.
yeah, yeah,
Like, he
right.
was
Yeah,
socially. He wasn't like one of you and I's going out there and like mucking things up. I mean, his famous story is the showdown on the beach on the
yeah,
island at
yeah,
3 o'clock, at 3:30 or something like that, where he intentionally is late getting to the
yeah,
fight because
yeah,
he knows his opponent is so um, regal and like upstanding and all these things and regimented, that he just basically is like he's 3 something hours late, but the entire time he's whittling an oar down to be a boken that's going to be two
yeah,
feet
yeah,
longer than his, and that's insulting to his rival. So
yeah.
the skill level immediately is dropped twofold. Then he fights him at dusk, which basically, if you know anything about fighting, you don't want to fight at dusk because everything is blurry.
Right,
But he
right,
knew he
right,
had 2 feet on the guy. He knew he had 2 feet on the guy, and basically killed him with a whack on the forehead, and it was done.
right,
And then
right, right. Yeah,
got in his boat, and scooted his little butt back over to the mainland.
right, right,
And that's
right.
where
Which
his
is
reputation. And he pissed a
yeah,
lot of people off.
yeah, yeah. I mean that whole thing. Like, there's a set of three books that are basically the movies that you were talking about. Um, and it goes into exacting detail about the oar and stuff, and how he was actually, he delayed the match because he had stepped on a nail, and how he, like, he was tormented by the fact that he hurt himself by stepping on a nail or a twig or something like that, and that he should have been faster. Very much like, kind of like the art of Zen and motorcycle maintenance, where you break down every kind of little decision and action that you have, and trying to dissect it. And I could have done this, I could have done that. And so they're fantastic books anyway. um
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so are you like, I'm not really as much into ninja as probably I could be. Like, I've seen those movies, um like the one where, especially the one where it has, just like those tropes that we were talking about, where he was being trained, and he's on a wire. Which movie is that? Where the kid is on a wire, and he over a river, or a do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it American made?
Yeah, yeah. He's like
How old? How
over
long ago?
over. Yeah. Yeah, it's an 80, it's one
Uh,
of the ninja movies.
like Sokachoji.
I don't know. I don't know which one it would
Yeah,
be.
it's not. I mean, it's not. I know that there. I think the last one he had his son in it.
Yeah,
Sokasoji had his son, and there might have been some kind of training there. But go ahead. Go ahead. Keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not really as versed in the ninja stuff as probably I could be. But that's your favorite type of martial art entertainment?
I would say yes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really close to the quote the samurai per se. But actually, my favorite martial arts movies slash television series is Zatoichi, the Blind Swordsman.
Oh, I've never
Uh,
seen that.
oh, good God! If you want something to like really alter your consciousness towards entertainment, I still can't get over um,
What's it called?
that the it's called Zato Zato Ichi Chi, and
Yeah.
Shintaro Katsu is the he's actually the all in, like he invented the character, he wrote the stories, he started them, directed them. It was big. He was super huge. As a matter of fact, his brother is Lone Wolf and Cub in the baby cart
Oh,
assassin
yeah.
movie
Yeah.
television series and stuff like that. But he's a just get this, okay? He's a blind masseuse who has a gambling problem, and he has a cane that has a sword in it, and he
Yeah.
also has like weakness for the ladies. But he's like super shy about it. He's super shy about it. So every story is designed in that mechanism, and of course the Yakuza were controlling the gambling dens. So there was a lot of like mischievous, and they were loading the dice and stuff, but he can hear things, right?
Right.
So it's nuts. It's nuts. Like, and he understood in order to stay on top, he had to heighten this character without it being, let's say, too ridiculous. But
Yeah.
um, it gets down to like some just like crazy situations. But I believe there's like 23 to 26 of the movies.
Oh,
um
wow.
and there's one with Toshiro Mifune, which who played Yojimbo. So there's Yojimbo versus Zatoichi, which it itself is just it's incredible. It's incredible. But going back to like you saying, I should be more into it. I think one of the curious things about like ninja and like barbarians, I have found, and definitely talking with other people, who might have like a greater sense towards like Star Wars and Star Trek and those kinds of things. I think it feels at times hard to kind of like enter said genre. Like, where do I start when it comes to ninja
Right.
movies, or
Right.
ninja comics or barbarian comics? Like, oh, okay, Conan the Barbarian, I get it. They're all like Conan the Barbarian, and it is and it isn't, because the trope as like those two things are very insular in design. They're not meant to move too crazy outside of it. Now, when it does, I think it's a great challenge. I know with Crom the Barbarian, I'm doing my best to play with other tropes like time and science or technology, alien specific time, and alien
Right.
technology specific.
Right.
But for most of it, I get very paranoid and pull back on certain things because I don't want to upset, like, let's say, the core fans in it. But then I also think, well, how do I invite other people to come in and check it out? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it, it's kind of interesting as it goes for that. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself about it, because if it's not like calling you, like, it's been
Well,
calling me since,
yeah.
since I
Well,
started watching Black Theater when I was like 11.
the
you
thing is,
know?
I guess Ninja, like, we've talked about video games before, but there's like a whole subgenre genre of video games where it's stealth. Like that's you play the game stealthily, you go behind people and you kill them. You try not to
Yeah,
get caught. Metal Gear Solid is a lot of that stuff, and I'm not really into that. Like I don't like the stealthy stuff. I'm totally against it. Like I don't like it. So maybe that is just kind of part of my not having ninja, loving the ninja as much as samurai
a
because
sense
they are,
sensitivity for it.
yeah, yeah, they're two parts of the same coin, but one's stealthy and one is up in your face, broad daylight. And I'm much more of a fight in the broad daylight than stealthy. But that Zato Ichi, is that where Blind Fury, the Rucker Hauer movie, was inspired
Yep.
by? You think?
Oh yeah, there's like three to five movies that are Western made that are completely ripping off of that trope. And I
Yeah,
know there's a female one where it's a female blind martial artist, yeah, and of course the sword is in the cane, that kind of thing.
yeah,
But see, like
yeah.
the sword fight, they themselves are like a separate awesomeness. It is his ability to navigate as a blind person through a feudal medieval world that
Right.
is so, it's the poor can't get any poorer, the rich can't get any richer, and the mob just wants to like basically siphon anything they can from above and below, and he's just trying to like roll through it all without getting
Right.
killed. But it's super crazy, because I think there might be like two, let's say, sword battles throughout the entire like under 2 hour movies. There might be some sword trickery, but a lot of it is his cunningness, and I love it. Um and and another thing I want to speak to is like with ninja and maybe trying to write something. You're trying to write a story about an assassin.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's the most challenging thing, is that this is, you know, how do you go about doing that? I mean, there's tons of
Yeah.
movies and material
Yeah.
out there. But the books themselves probably do it a lot better because they can really world build and dive in deeper and stuff like that. Like Eric von Lustbatter's Ninja, and Shogun, not Shogun. I think it was Shiro. Anyways, this whole series that he wrote, that are really good, and it's basically a white guy who ended up getting ninja training, and
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, and then there's things that happen and stuff. So it's not adjacent to somebody being hired to be a killer, like assassin. Like if you're going
Yeah.
to create
Yeah.
the ninja equals assassin, like if you're going to play that, where ninja really in reality was just an espionage agent, for
Right. Yeah.
these feudal lords. It was just to get information about what was happening in the village or in the next town over, next kingdom, who was sleeping with who or whatever, that then the feudal lords could use to um, against the other,
Right.
in fight and stuff to that extent.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many of those ninja movies of the 80s were like the good ninja versus the mob bosses, or the guys in suits and stuff, where they would break into the building and take care of people one by one or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I like I said, I think, I mean, for me, I've not read or seen everything out there, and I don't ever want to speak to it because I'm not old enough to like bow out gracefully from wanting to see more and more, you know,
Yeah.
ninja and barbarian comic books or movies or television or what have you. But I think one of the hard plays is, like I was saying before, is that they're very tightly bound tropes, that stepping outside of them is the greatest challenge, like in storytelling. That's That's the greatest challenge. I still think one of the greatest comic books produced in the 80s. I'll just kind of leave it to that. Um, Only because Arzak was in the 70s. Um, and I do place it comparable to um, Arzak is GI Joe's. I forget the. I should have pulled the issue out because I have a copy of the issue where Snake Eyes goes into Cobra Command to get Red Scarlet, and
Yeah, yeah,
there's no words. There's no
yeah.
words,
I
and
think that's
all
the
it
most
is.
popular one.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you want to
Yeah,
talk about like topping yourself and then not being able to top yourself again. I mean, like
right.
that
Yeah,
is, and the, because I think the most attractive thing is the telling of the story by Snake Eyes' like skill sets, and
yeah,
then of course
yeah,
Storm Shadow comes out as his brother in the same clan, and then and there's a momentum there, and of course you get to the showdown and stuff to that extent, but that issue, really embodies so many aspects of comic book making and let's say working up against a trope, Snake Eyes is a ninja, like that type of
yeah,
thing, and not
yeah.
having to beat you over the head as the reader, you know what I mean, with explanatives, and then, other people talking like, hey, Alex, did you hear that down the hall? And then, we both get,
Right, right.
eliminated through the process and stuff, thank
Yeah.
God they never did that.
Yeah. So I was so excited to talk about martial arts and samurai and stuff that I totally skipped over the first things that I always ask somebody when they come on the show is what's your favorite comic book, either series or single issue, and who's your favorite comic book artist?
So Mobius Arzak is really uh, um, uh, uh, anything I can. If you need a stone to break things against,
Yeah.
that's the stone I break. Matter of fact, I'm working on getting a hold of the Arzak last story. I have the first half in color, um, and but the family released all the black and white pages, just all the line art, which was like I think almost like one and a half more of the volume and stuff.
Yeah.
But that when I got a hold of heavy metal, in my I was even probably a teenager, it was like 11 or 12 years old. Um, but I was very much connected to the idea of word and pictures, being dyslexic, and growing up with what they used to call as a learning challenge or learning disability. Um, when I opened up those magazines, so many things like registered for me that I had yet to come in contact with yet, right? But Arzak being wordless and giving me all the right amount of information panel to panel in a cinematic sequence,
Yeah.
still to this
Yeah.
point, makes me, I'll pull out a copy of Arzak that's near me when I finish a comic and just hold back, my tears of lamenting on how far away
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
that I am. But at the same
Wow.
time, like I'm still in the same game. You know what I mean? Like I'm still in
Right,
the
right.
same game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the character too, the character itself is such a, I hate to say cliche, a mystery, but
Um
like just
the
just so like magnetizing, like
yeah, yeah.
y- y- it just there's like I can't think of another character like Arzak.
Did
Like I
you
just
did
can't.
you did you read the did you get the heavy metal books before you saw the movie or did you see the movie first?
I saw the movie way later. Like I saw the movie
Yeah.
maybe a couple years later because, like I said, I got a hold of a bunch of junky versions, water damage version magazines from my
Yeah.
comic book
Yeah.
store. He had blood, and all these boxes of magazines he kept on a table. He told me too. I mean, he knew I was like quote unquote underage for it,
Yeah,
but he was
yeah,
like, he's you might like that, and he's like, and you just bring up what you want, and I'll cut a deal for you. So I had grabbed
yeah.
like one through like 10 or something, and he
Wow,
was like,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
He was like, yeah, $5, like that kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah,
and went back, went home, and then was like really going through them and stuff. And Jake and I talk about it all the time on Turbo Pit Fighter, because we've had such a similar, like, quote unquote, being too young and exposed to material that you just didn't have anything to be prepared for, like in
yeah,
making sense of it. But then
yeah,
when you were evolving as a human being, all of a sudden, like, oh wow, this makes sense now. Like, okay,
yeah,
wow, that's
yeah,
even more clever.
yeah,
When you keep
yeah.
coming back to the stories, it's not just that silly comic book you had when you were a kid.
Right, right. My experience was heavy metal was I'm pretty sure I saw the movie first. But then my stepdad, we were having a yard sale and he had a bunch of them, and so I grabbed them and was reading them and loved them and everything. But then I went to the local paperback store and they were in the adult section. So I'm looking at
Yeah.
this heavy metal, in the middle of the adult section with all this porn around me. And the Mr. Paperback guy comes over to me and says something. And at the time, I'm like, "Oh my God." I was so mortified. I like threw her down and ran right out of the bookstore. So that was like my big biggest memory of heavy metal and
That's
stuff.
trauma.
Yeah,
That's
it was
trauma.
very traumatic, especially, wanting to
That's
be a
terrible.
good kid and not, break the law or
Yeah.
whatever.
No, it's true. It's true. But that
Yeah.
magnetism that they have, and they still do, it's just, it's bonkers, what was coming through those magazines in the way of art, just point
Um,
blank, just
so those
visual art.
those those Arzaks that you're talking about, the black and white ones, like there might not be anything in the whole world that I would say I would definitely like better in color. Like the color in Arzak is just the greatest thing in the world. How can you look at the line work, but then Mobius's line work is so
Ah,
insanely awesome? It's like it's a mind-blowing thing. Like, what do you think about that?
well, my favorite comic book is 40 Days in Desert B, which is not really a comic book. It's like a landscape sketchbook, two sides that he kept for years, and
Right.
it's let's say Arzak centric, but it's desert and a lot of like let's say a spiritual slash hallucinogenic, kind of like pathway and stuff. But
Yeah.
I was I used to keep that near the toilet, when time came, and then I would flip through it. But one of the first things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happened to me was you could read it backwards or forwards. That was the thing I started realizing. I was like, holy shit, man! Like this thing even works going backwards. Like when you
Yeah.
flip.
That's crazy. Did I lose you? I think I lost your audio, or you lost your audio, or there's a delay. That sucks. Are you stuck? Oh, this has never happened before. Did something happen to your internet? Hmm. That blows. That really blows. Um, so you're gonna see this, I guess. Maybe we'll wait for a couple minutes for you to unfreeze. I don't know. Can you hear me? I can't hear you, and your screen's not moving, so it's completely frozen, which really sucks because I was going to I'll give you a minute. We'll give you to the because we're at the 58-minute mark and oh no. Oh man. He left us. That really sucks. So, Kurt, because you said that you're more alive in the mornings, and we were talking about whether or not to do the show in the morning. So I'm assuming it's nap time at this time. So you're like, oh, I'm missing my nap time. So as a reward, I we were talking about doing a Crom thing, kind of like Morgram I did, but I don't really have the time or the bandwidth right now. At some point, I definitely would do a Crom figure or a bust or something like that. But until then, I did a Crom sword that you created in your book. Um, it is there's all of the people have done different Crom swords. I have my Crom sword is completely different than yeah, yeah, you lost me. Something happened with the internet or something. Can you see this though? Can you see what I did for you? I this is just the clay model, and I'm going to try to figure out the best way to put it in resin, and this part broke off, so it'll be a little bit of a I'll have to put some clay in there when I do the resin. I did this off of your Crom sword, which of all the Crom swords, like I was saying in Jamie's books and your books and everything, your anthology and stuff, you everybody makes a different Crom sword, Skullcracker and Skullbiter, sorry. And so yeah, this is Skullbiter, and I'm gonna try to maybe next week I'm gonna try to make a mold out of it and kind of do some stuff. It's a little bit of a challenge because one of the hardest things to do in uh, using clay and stuff is to get something like smooth and straight. I've done some sanding, and I'll probably do a little bit more sanding. So anyway, here's Skullbiter, and hopefully I got the dimensions and all that stuff. Not the dimensions, but um the 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 I don't know what you would say, the techniques, right, of Skullbiter, because some of their in the book it's looks a little bit different. This doesn't have the curliness of the on the hilt. Oh, well, hopefully he's going to come back. Hopefully he can come back. Are you back? You're back.
I am back. I did something magical, I think.
Awesome.
Uh,
So
Sorry about
like
that.
I was saying, or did you hear me? So
I
Skullbiter looks a little bit different in some of your illustrations, like the it's straight across here. But I think on some of like
Well,
here,
first off,
it's
slow down a
it's a
second. Slow
little
down a second. So let's
curvy.
just go back to the sword because I think I we cut
Okay.
out right before you showed me the sword. So the is that the sword that you were using?
This is the
Like as
sword
an
that yeah,
example? Yeah.
this is
So
the sword I
that's
made.
amazing, Alex. That is super amazing. Like that's I need a copy.
Yeah,
What has to
yeah,
happen? Because I'm gonna
yeah.
have that made. I'm gonna figure out how to make that life size. Because I have somebody I'm working with, and we need a
Yeah,
life size version of of Skullbiter. So it looks like you
that'll be
just got.
awesome.
It looks like you just got the job. But
Yeah, it's like
yeah, you're the
7 inches.
story. So the story to the sword is this. I wanted to make I wanted to make Skullbiter iconic
Yeah,
in a like if somebody was just everybody I noticed uses Skullcracker. Like that's
right.
and I don't like the sound of Skullcracker because it sounds like you're gonna
Is the original
dip it in some
is the
soup.
original in here Skullcracker?
Yeah, if in the very first story of
Yeah,
by Fox and Gunther, it ends up like I think page 5 or 6 or something, he brings out Skull Biter and wants to drink his fill, that kind of thing.
yeah.
And I think there's even a third iteration where there's another like Skull Smasher or something. Anyhow, The
Ah,
idea of the design for me was I wanted to create something that was obvious in an iconic way where, you know, a lot of people have given me like props to it, but
yeah,
I also wanted people to riff off of it.
yeah,
So the idea was just basically the hilt was, you know, your the whatever it's called, the jaw, you know, underneath your
yeah,
eyes, you know, being extended in kind of like a toothy horn kind of thing, and it looks like they're coming from the top, and then it makes eyes and stuff. And man, there are
yeah,
people out there
yeah.
that are just tearing it up, you know, with their version of Skullbiter. Now, if they call it skull cracker, you know, I'm not I'm not one to hold it up against anybody, but I even play around with it from story to story. I'll
Right.
like you had said, I'll kind of straight line the
Yeah,
mandibles or whatever, you
yeah,
know, that come
yeah.
off, and then the eyes too have gotten a little actually, let me see if I can find there was a one where
So in the Crom
oh
anthology,
yeah, here you
uh,
go. Check this
the
out. So this is a good one where the blade extends, you know, because it's one big piece of metal, and then the fabrication goes on and around it. But this sort of like how the eyes are dark, like the eyeballs are dark in a sense, kind of thing.
all
You know,
right,
like
right, right,
it's kind of wild that way to kind of play with the
right,
design. But that's
right,
kind of my standard now. Like this is what I kind of grab, quote unquote, out of my head and then throw down when it comes time to make, you know,
right,
skull.
right. Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I tried to make these more I like, but what I had to do,
Dude, you nailed it,
because
man.
when I kind of feel like it looks a little bit more like horns, but maybe I'll
I
try to
like it.
do
I
some
like it.
drilling to make it a little bit more. But the thing is, I had to make the sword blade first, because when you cook it in the oven, because this is Sculpey, it bends. So if I put it like flat like this, then the sword part would bend down and the hilt would bend down. So I had to do the sword part first and then the hilt part afterwards. So that's kind of why I couldn't really um, wrap that around as much as I wanted to, but maybe I can do some drilling in there. But the also I'm really going to try, and I think I can do it because when you make the mold, you put it in there, and then you leave a space for where to pour the resin. So I'm thinking that I'm going to have to pour the resin down here, and obviously the less space you have to pour the resin, the more it could, screw up. So we will see.
Hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Keep me posted, man.
Yeah, yeah,
That is
probably within the next
fantastic.
week or so. Yeah. So
Nice.
do other people use
Nice.
your sword
Like I
in
said, they riff from it. You
yeah,
could tell that they're riffing from it. And like I said, I try to say it as many times often. You know, Skullbiter is a public domain character, and I'm not trying to control, um, you know, the fun I want people to have with it and the
yeah,
enjoyment. You
yeah,
know, I think there's a line where you know the one line I just don't want people doing is claiming something. That's really what I'm trying to keep people from doing. Like
yeah,
like
yeah,
just don't claim anything unless it comes to a point. And obviously, if you've published a year or two ago in Crom Anthology or your own comic, and you were the one that originally came up with it, all's going to be cool. But at the same
yeah,
time, don't be a person that just like you know, oh, I see this thing, I'm gonna do my version, then I'm gonna claim it. Like, just don't do it.
right,
Just have a good
right,
time, do it,
yeah,
put it out there,
yeah,
and then move on.
right, right. Well, I don't know how anyone could claim stuff. I don't know. I think I was
I
talking
see
to
it.
Jamie about that.
Unfortunately I do see it. And I don't know. I don't. I don't want to say I don't understand.
Yeah,
I do understand, but I have zero appreciation or tolerance for it because,
right,
in
right.
all sincerity, it is Gardner Fox's and John Guinta's. It just
Yeah,
automatically, and I'm the curator and custodian of the Gardner Francis Fox Library, but my mission with the family in his work with the pulps, and the paperbacks, is to get people to have not only enjoyment but to spring off of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, get contact us and we can most definitely work out something. But this was just a great place to kind of like initiate a lot of it, which is a an already established public domain character.
Right. Right.
All of his other stories are not, but we do have people who contact us, and we work with them closely in order to preserve certain aspects of whatever it is that they want to do.
Right, right.
But yeah.
I think I was talking to Jamie about what was um public and what is owned and what isn't owned. Like, oh yeah, because I was like, which is where Morgrim actually came from, because I was thinking of adding characters that I could then later on use somewhere else. Like if I added a Morgrim, then I could use somewhere else and it would be mine. So he was like, yeah, you could do that in like the bat lord that I have, or in the bat creatures,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't I don't consider those, maybe because I think they're so generic. Like I don't consider them, oh, I don't consider owning them, they're just part of the story or whatever. So if anybody ever used them again, I would, care less, couldn't care less. Um, so yeah, I guess. I mean, um, I don't understand how somebody could create something in their story and then be like, Crom's mine, or something like that. But anyway, we're over time. I like to keep it at an hour for consistency sake. But yeah, I will keep you
I want to
um,
let me I want to just end my side with this.
sure,
Coates
sure.
Brothers,
Yeah,
Power Pulp
yeah,
Comics. Jake and I did an interview with both uh, James and John, and I do believe with uh, James. We did review Ninja 4 Dark Vengeance, which is like the next uh, obvious straight to VHS from
yeah,
the
yeah,
Kasojis and stuff. I don't really want to spoil anything, but I do want to give props to the Coates brothers for keeping something real.
yeah.
And it's super awesome. And of course, we always have Power Pulp Comics, which is a great place to stop by, as well as Crom the Barbarian, and Crom Anthology, which right now I am getting the mock-up for Crom Anthology 2 up on the printer with Lulu, and we'll be hitting the print button tonight. So I'm super excited as that rolls on. But if anybody's
So
out there into sword and sorcery,
yeah,
black and white magazine size goodness, you got it there at
yep.
cromthebarbarian.com.
I'll have a link in the description for that stuff. Should I just
Thank you.
do the Crom the Barbarian, or should I do links to other stuff?
No, cromthebarbarian.com is great.
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay,
But I
awesome.
can't thank you enough, man. This officially is my first time not being responsible for the podcast, and it is
Right, right.
glorious. It's glorious. It's been a
I had
glorious
wondered if
time
you'd
being a
ever been a
guest.
guest.
Being a guest, so I can't thank you enough, Alex. And by the way,
Yeah.
too, everybody needs to know my favorite indie YouTube comic channel is Alex Turbin's channel. So
Yeah. I
most
appreciate
mornings when
that.
I'm doing my breakfast thing, I got you playing in the background, if not straight across the table,
Yeah.
reviewing whatever comic that you're getting into. And man, I just keep doing it, my brother. Just keep doing what you're doing, because it's fantastic. Nobody else is doing it either. That's the other problem.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, all right. Well, thanks a lot for joining me. Hopefully you'll be back.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
planning on having people back, so hopefully that'll happen. But thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you later, Alex.